One thing that was interesting for me as we were building Thrive, one of the guys I met with a guy named Bill Shofty every Thursday. He was cutting my business Yoda, and he'd help scale a company from a $20 million business to a $2 billion company called HRH Insurance. And he would say, do your research. And I'm thinking, why do I have to do my research? It's gold. People need practical education. They're paying $50,000 a year to go to a private school. Of course they're going to pay $50. Bah. And he would say, do your research. And I would go back and do my research. And what I found is I started getting more pumped up because I found independent research that showed how many people are searching for some education that's the gap between formal and practical. And so doing that research helped me. And in other times, earlier in my career, there was different ideas where I would do the research and I'm like, this is a bad idea. I'm almost like pummeling myself with bad, so it's almost like that research helps you validate or discredit it the more you do.
Absolutely. I mean, the challenge is we always love our own ideas, right? I feel like this is a great idea. Why? Because I made it up and I love it.
I feel good.
But the reality is, when you go out to the market and you start to validate that, you may find differently.
Now, common mistake number 6, overestimating the size of your market. They say, well, people like candy. There are people in every country. There's 3 billion people over here, 1 billion people over here. There's 4 billion people that want to buy my candy.
Yep.
Even babies want my candy. I mean, they kind of have this utopic view of that. How often do you see this where someone has their potential market size just way out of control?
Not as often as you'd think. I mean, that's one where I don't see people overestimate the size of the market. The challenge is what we see is they'll use other markets to validate it. Right, so if I've got your example of the candy industry. Well, yes, candy industry is huge. So if you're going to go into candy, then really go to market, differentiation, product is going to become very important. But if you are in baby products, using candy industry as an applicable or relevant example, and by attribution that means that this industry should be large, that doesn't work.
Okay. Now, number 7. This is one of my favorite ones here. This is fabulous. The plan is mind-bogglingly detailed and hard to understand. I guess an example I would see. I see a lot of entrepreneurs will come in and can talk to you for a full hour, and you have no idea what they're talking about. And there's other people who can say it in just a few sentences. Talk to me about how bad it can be if your business plan has too much detail.
So I'm going to speak to both spectrums because I just recently got pitched on a medical device a business. I met with the guy for an hour, and after that hour I tried to regurgitate back to him what he did and how they were going to do it, and I was completely off base. He used so much industry jargon. It was sniper rifle specific on every little detail, and ultimately I don't think he really understood his value prop well enough yet. It doesn't mean it's a bad plan, it just means it needs to evolve a little bit more. I've also seen on the opposite side Pollyanna pitches where, oh my gosh, everything is cupcakes and roses, this thing can't fail, they don't pay attention to some of the risks, they haven't thought through some of the details. So I see both sides and I think there's risks.
So now this ties into move number 8, which is the too vague thing.
Yeah.
I see the vague, to me, the vague one is always a concern when there's zero clarity as to who your teammates are. Well, these guys, we're working with these guys and those people, and very broad, or we're going to be marketing to these people and that people and this people, and there's no detail in the plan.
Yeah.
And again, I know I don't want to quote you on the specific number of pages a business plan should have, but for the guy or gal watching this, and they're going, my plan is only 3 pages long, or my plan is 100 pages long. If you could just kind of, you would just say, hey, you really, as a general rule, want to get down to about 25 or less?
I would say 25 or less on the plan. Now, your financial projections, depending on the type of business, could add some additional appendices there. But yeah, you want to show that you don't overlook important details, but you also want to demonstrate that you're not going to get lost in all the details. Because like running a business, you have to be able to make great decisions with imperfect data.
Yeah.
But you have to do the best you can to get the data that you need to make that decision.
Now, this is one here, move number 9. This one has been hard for me because as we're building Thrive, Thrive it's online education for entrepreneurs. Yeah. The idea is it's mentorship from millionaires and success stories, but for entrepreneurs. It's not for non-entrepreneurs.
Right.
So I remember talking to a family member of mine about Thrive, and they're like, I don't know why anyone would ever want education without a degree. I mean, you're talking to this person, and they really are passionate, but they would never start a business. And if I change the Thrive platform to appeal to them and tried to appeal to the entrepreneur, it would appeal to no one. It would be just sort of blah. Yeah. If Guidant tried to focus on everything, it would be nothing. How important is it to know your niche and then to stay there, to appeal to a certain group?
Extremely important. I mean, we've talked about this before in some of our previous conversations. Simplicity scales, focus scales, clarity scales, complexity, confusion, those things do not scale. So I think it's very important that you know your market, you understand their needs, and that you deliver on their expectations.